Hey guys, welcome back to League of Inches and another season preview. This time we've got the mighty Penrith Panthers who are coming off one of the greatest seasons I think most people can remember, undefeated for most of it, and obviously a little bit short at the grand final, but a lot of people can still give them massive credit. A fairly young squad with a few key experienced personnel, but 2021 looks to be just as good, if not better. And I got Ben, who has jumped on for the season preview for me. He's actually looks after Panthers Weekly. It's a weekly podcast. I'll let him explain a little bit more about it, but you can catch him on Facebook, Twitter, and a few other podcast apps as well. So Ben, I'll get you to jump on, just explain a little bit about yourself and how long you've been a Panthers fan for, and just give a bit of a plug for your Panthers Weekly.
Yeah, too easy. So 1999, a friend of mine said, Ben, do you want to go to every Panthers game this year? And I'd only been to two previously because my family wasn't big football fans. You know, my dad grew up as a Berries fan, so it shows how old he is. And I went to the second game of the season against Western Sydney Magpies, and Penrith won 60-6. And from that moment forth, I just fell in love with it. You know, the likes of Boom Boom Beckett and all those sort of guys from the team, which wasn't very good, but it was a lot of fun. And then since then, just try to avoid missing games. Normally, if a friend has a wedding on, there's a good chance I won't be attending that wedding because I'm in football. And if it's a family member, then I've got the phone out watching it on the app, much to my wife's disapproval. But everyone knows what they're getting into when they invite me to a wedding or a party or something like that, and the footy's on. They know in advance. I'll warn them at the start of each year. Here's the NRL World Draw. Make your plans around me. As for Panthers Weekly, so a mate and I were talking one day, and we figured, you know what, like the podcast and that was starting to come into it, and we figured, why not start a Penrith Panther one? You know, both share our passion, and the club was outstanding. They were so supportive. They got players on. They got, you know, this time 2 years ago, we actually interviewed David Appleby, one of the first Penrith Panther players in 1967 team.
Wow.
And 3 years ago today, we actually finished interviewing James Fisher Harris back in 2016, sorry, or 2018, sorry. So back when he was still very young. So yeah, Panthers Weekly, we kind of took a bit of a break last year, the year that we actually did extremely well. And I'm a bit nervous about bringing it back because I'm very superstitious when it comes to sport. And you win 17 straight, you don't do a podcast. You just don't do a podcast. So we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah, no, great listen. And I did have a bit of a sneak around to the pages this afternoon, and can highly recommend anyone who's a Panthers fan, not just that, just a fan in general, to get part of it and give them a like, give them some love. So what about, we'll talk about 2021, and obviously, a couple of signings in the ranks. No massive names, it's fair to say, but what's a signing that stands out for you?
One I'm looking forward to is Momorowski.
Yeah.
Obviously, a late signing. The fact that he just came from the Melbourne system, I know he was officially a Tiger player, but being part of that Melbourne Storm system for so long last year in such unique conditions where he pretty much lived with the Melbourne players, it's going to be huge for us. You know, they're an absolute professional outfit, and that's just going to follow on to him, hopefully affecting our outside backs. And him and Robert Jennings, I'm looking forward to having Robert Jennings back. You know, it's he was always rated the best of the three Jennings coming through the ranks, and obviously circumstances and, you know, being a superstar at 17 doesn't mean you're going to be a superstar at 22, but fingers crossed this is an opportunity for him and kind of restart his career a la Brent Naden last year.
Yeah, 100%. I mentioned both as well, just because of an outside back depth. I really like the fact that there is a bit of that depth there at the club. I think there was, for some reason, and you probably know a bit more than I did, Cleary was a bit unsure with Naden towards the back end of last year. I've heard things about his defence and things like that, so it's going to be good to have Momorowski come in, and obviously the winger depth with Mansell departing the club. It'd be good to have Jennings there pushing the claims of Toto and things like that to really push on and stain. So with that, obviously there is some losses. There has been some talk about some experience leaving the club. Who's your biggest loss?
For me personally, it has to be Josh Mansour. I've had the pleasure of meeting Source many, many times, interviewing him on the podcast. You know, saw him out in the streets. I always say good day, have a bit of a yarn and that. So for me personally, I'm going to miss him. He's was just an all-round legend of a bloke and a fantastic clubman. And I think a lot of Penrith fans are going to miss him.
Yeah.
On the field, probably James Tarmow. Those one-handed tackles that he used to do when he just reach out and grab him with his giant right paw and just bring him down the ground. We're going to miss him in the middle. You know, we've got some great young players, but he's definitely not only his experience, but his ability and his performance last year and the year before was outstanding. His first year of us, very average, but since then he came back to leaps and bounds, back where he was at the Cowboys. And I think the Tigers are really going to be very happy with what they're getting in such a professional as James Tamou.
You've hit the nail on the head. I've said I couldn't split either of them. If I had to, I would have just gone to Tamou's side, but both have been, obviously Mansell's been part of the club for years now, and Tamou, both for mine, had a lot to say for last year's success, just in terms of their leadership and probably pointing towards the young squad of where to go, how to set things. And we all hear the news about how Tamou is and how much of a professional he is, both in and on and off the field. So that sort of leadership obviously will be missed. Tigers, great signing there for them, but yeah, I think that will be a little bit of a miss there for the club moving forward. But what about the key reasons for success? I know there's plenty of reasons to be confident after last year. It can also often be a bit scary going into after a season like that. But what's something you look at and go, you know what? Because of this reason, I think we're going to go one better.
I don't know. Last year we were just everything. The stars aligned for every game but the last one, and there was no injuries. There was a lot of, our attack was fantastic. Our defense was really good. This year I'm looking forward to our left edge. Luau, Kikau, Critters, and then To'o. If you're a fantasy football player, purchase at least 3 of those 4 players, because that left edge is going to absolutely destroy people. Just Kikau alone, we saw it in a trial. Use him as a decoy, and there's Critters or To'o just diving in the corner. And Jerome, mate, the guy's got magic boots. I swear to God, I would not want to try to defend him. So I think that left edge is going to be our key difference.
Yeah, that's the danger of Kikau. It's not just the fact of how good he is with the ball. It's how much he attracts defenders and things like that, and they can use him as a decoy. And the fact of the matter is, if they don't get those bodies in there to make that tackle, they'll just give it to him and he'll go straight through. So for defensive lines, it's almost impossible to read, and you've almost always got to have more on that side of the field to defend and leaving the other side open. So I mentioned just the fact that it's a younger squad, and they're obviously hungry. I've read obviously a few things, as most Panthers fans do, and a lot of the talk this year so far in the preseason has been obviously the disappointment. And I think with a young squad, they all just love playing footy, and that's the sort of mentality that you love to see from a club and these players. And you don't really want to verse them at the moment. They're still carrying in that form that they had from last year. They haven't played a game, obviously, between that. And I'm a Para fan, and watching the trial the other weekend, they looked really, really good. And they just continue. Once you make winning a habit, it's really hard to get out of that habit. So it's good, especially the young boys coming in. And I think that's going to be a really big strong point for this season. What about you?
The fact that they're all
yeah.
Oh, sorry. The fact that they're, as you said, they came through the ranks winning games.
Yeah.
And they've all played together since they were 15, how I'm at SSG board, 20s cup and that. So yeah, fingers crossed. I'm very, very cautiously optimistic this year.
As I touched on, it is hard to, after a season like 2020, to come back and just really keep going, keep that ball going and keep up for so long. It's going to be almost a 2-year sort of stint if they are to go all the way. So where's a bit of area of concern for yourself?
The right edge. So the left edge is our absolute dominant side. Our right edge is the bit that worries me. Obviously, a new pairing in the center and wing with the Momorowski / Naden / Charlie Staines, and then you got Cleary as well there. So, Cleary's a fantastic defender, one of the best defensive halfbacks in the comp, and Liam Martin and also helped there. I'm not too sure how the combination is going to be on the attacking side. We saw her in the trial; they played next to each other, and Charlie Staines can scramble well. We know he's definitely built for speed, but his size is of concern for me still. And obviously, he's only young and he's going to put on size over the next couple of months and building into, his future career. But that's my concern at the moment, just that side there. So it's one end is so weighted and the other end is not. So it's weird. So if I'm an attacking coach for the opposition, you know what side I'm coming down.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I did mention just what we've talked about obviously already is just the leadership, a little bit of lost there with some key players, obviously Tamo and Mansell, but I also mentioned Tedavano as well, who I thought was massive coming off the bench last year. He has that experience behind him. He's been at some successful clubs like the Roosters and things like that now. Penrith obviously last year, and he's just got that. When he comes on, it's sort of like, oh, we'll give Tamo a rest and he can sort of come on and continue that go forward, which he did so well. So I do think that might be a little bit of an area for concern. But the good thing is that these young players have now been taught sort of how to do things and how to come through the grade and what to do in certain situations. And I think Cleary's going to be one of the best players in the game for quite a long time, and he's probably the best guy to steer that ship around at the moment. So for a young guy, he looks like he's been playing for 20, 30 years. Crazy.
Yeah,
So,
I've had the pleasure of knowing Nathan for many, many years. So I used to coach him for AFL at school level.
Oh, wow.
And he's always been like that. You see him the way he's interviewed, calm, cool, collected. Mate, when he was 14, 15 years old, he was exactly the same way. So, yeah, definitely an old head on young shoulders.
That's it. And he's got a really good running game. I don't think many people talk about his running game enough, and I think, especially his show and go, it's really dangerous. I know a lot of people rave on about some of the other halves, but I think his running game is right up there, and he's deceptively quick. He gets away from him quite quickly, and I love Lua. Just to touch on him, and I don't want to go a video without touching on him because I absolutely love him. He's got that mongrel that when we verse him, I hate him, but at the same time I love him just because he's got that in him. But he's also got the skills, and I thought he was really underrated last year. I thought he did a lot of good things. I know Cleary got a lot of the raps for it, and deservedly so. But I thought he was right up there. And
he's probably the reason why Cleary didn't get the Dally M's, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, he took points off him, and rightly so. He, as you said, he was actually rated better than Cleary at junior grades. So it's just Nath got a bit more size at a younger age, so he got thrown into the first grade. But yeah, Romy's a freak, absolute freak of a player. So and a character.
I hope for the Panthers' sake, you guys can keep them both together for years to come. Scary for
Me too.
Scary for opposition to have those two together, but I think it's deserved when people come through. I like seeing clubs that can keep their juniors together. It's a really good reward for being with them and sticking solid for so long, which I think both our clubs do quite well. So it's good to see when they get rewarded for it. Now, what about your final thoughts? Obviously, as most, they're going to be up there this year. What's your final thoughts on the year ahead, and where do you see him finishing if you have to lock in some kind of position?
The reality is we're never going to win 17 in a straight again. Yep. So no matter how many we win this year, unless it's the grand final, it will be a disappointment compared to last year. But, mate, you mentioned it, they're a young side. There's a lot of depth coming through. Inexperience is what concerns me. Last year, we didn't have to touch on it too much. The players we put in at the back of the year because we wanted to, not because we had to. We saw in the trial a couple of those boys coming through too, and they're hungry. They want to win. So they're definitely coming back. And I think the short and off season is probably the best thing for us because it keeps that momentum going from last year. Not too many interruptions. There's no reason why we can't go top 4. Obviously, it's hard to go minor premiers again. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to be one of those dream fans. I'm going to be reality. But if we don't make top 4, for me, it's going to be a disappointment.
Yeah. No.
And then come playoffs, whatever happens in the playoffs happens in the playoffs.
I think that's understandable. I think the other thing, just to quickly, I guess, touch on is the fact that last year, obviously, Origin was at the end of the year. So it probably helped younger squads like the Panthers just get through that period which normally some teams struggle in. So that could be something that opens up this year that is something different to deal with. And I guess having those leaders around would make that easier. So just if some of them do get picked for Origin, which obviously, your Clearys and things like that definitely will be. But if they lose a couple more during that time, it could be a bit interesting. But I've still got you guys top 4. In my ladder prediction, if once they go and check this, all those people that tune in, I did pick Parra before Penrith, but that was just some bias.
Hey, you're a Parramatta fan. You live in dream, That's all we can do is live in hope.
That was just some bias. I do worry about the Panthers, and I think I've got the group of 6 teams pretty close together. I think Storm and South are probably just a little bit ahead of the pack at the moment, but I do have Penrith and Raiders right there sniffing right behind them. So I think Penrith have a really, really good year. Really get back in. Is the stadium back at 100% now with COVID, or is it 75?
100% for seated, 75% for hill and corporate area.
Okay.
So, 18,000 give or take.
So basically, it's
normally
going to
about
go
21.
close, going to go close to being the old
Oh,
blackouts that we'd often see there with all the black jerseys, which is
mate,
a
if they
great
haven't bought a
sight.
season ticket, good luck getting in because it's going to be chockers for the first few weeks, especially after last year missing out on so many games for so many people. So I can't wait for Saturday night, to be honest.
Yeah, I can see, and deservedly so. And a great year. You may as well. The fans should get to celebrate it now, and also bring on the success for the future. So, look, Ben, I love the fact that you came on. Just so everyone knows, he came on short notice, and brilliant to have him on and get his wisdom. Love to tune in and have a chat a bit more down the track when we can. But
Sounds good.
I'm really thankful for you coming on. I'll be cheering on your Panthers, apart from when they verse Parramatta, obviously. But I
That's right.
wish
I'll
you
be
nothing
cheering
but
on everyone else who plays Parramatta. So
I wish you guys nothing but success this year, and also the channel as well. Everyone get behind his channel, as I said, Panthers Weekly, and give him some loves because obviously by the sounds of it, the content's coming back. When's the next bit of video or something coming out?
yeah, got to speak to my co-host, and we'll probably start. We'll flip a coin, I think, and at round one determine how we're going to go. If we do the podcast this week and we win, let it ride. Let the good times roll.
All right, no worries.
But sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Perfect. Thanks, Heath, Ben. Thanks again.
No worries. Thank you.